So, I am freshly back from SonicCon. The convention was on Saturday. It's been a couple of days since. I've had an opportunity to gather my thoughts, and yeah, I wanted to chat to you guys about the convention. This is going to be one of those unscripted videos where I talk more or less directly to camera. Excuse my voice to a degree, I've got a tiny bit of con flu. I think that is generally unavoidable at these kind of things. And I did not go to this show with the intent of making content. I kind of hate that idea. I went to have fun, and generally speaking, yeah, I'm happy to say I achieved that. It was a really good show. I had a really good time. That does mean, in terms of sort of photos and video clips to accompany this video, I've got kind of a limited selection. Quite a small pool there, so do bear with me. But yeah, SonicCon, it was in London. It was actually really quite easy to get to being in Hammersmith, so for me I came into London Paddington, and then from there you just jump on the Hammersmith and City line, and it's about 7 stops. Actually getting to the show, pretty easy. I will say the entrance they wanted you to use, not that well marked, so they'd put out a guide in the days leading up saying, hey, look out for this, and thankfully I saw that through the Kickstarter and through the Discord. Otherwise, I would have missed that entrance, and I would have gone where Google Maps told me to go, which would have been the actual main entrance to the hotel. And from there, it's like a lift up, and you're pretty much where you need to be anyway. But yeah, I would have completely missed that if I had not seen the Discord post. Maybe just like an A board or something out front, just to direct, SonicCon this way. It's probably all it needed. Really minor thing. Queued to get my wristband. I didn't go for the early entry because originally I looked at the train times and thought, I'm not going to get there for 9 a.m. anyway. And, the 10 a.m. entry will be fine for me. I can get in at 10 and do the rest. However, as it turned out, I was about an hour earlier than I expected. Turned out to be a good thing because you had to queue for the wristband. Not too bad a queue at the time I was there. I was only in the queue for maybe 20 minutes. I got my wristband. Hey, cool, it's still not 10 yet. Come back at 10 to actually go into the show. Fine. Go grab a soft drink in the hotel bar. Wait it out. Go through. I do know my friends who came later, they did have to queue for quite a while. They were in the queue for nearly an hour just to get in. So they turned up closer to 10, and they were actually in the show. It was gone 11 by the time they were in. So queues, I'm told, were a problem throughout the day. For me, I didn't really experience that. However, I did see later on in the day a very long queue for the meet and greet to go meet the creators and the guests, and so people like Johnny Gioelli from Crush 40 and that kind of thing. That was a very long queue. That was stretching the entire hotel lobby and then some, so I was like, oh, I'm not even going to attempt that. So, some positives. When I first turned up, there was a gaming area off to the left. That was actually quite nice for killing time until the main show opened at 10 a.m. Or at least opened for, normie scrubs like me who didn't pay for the early entry. And that was really well done. It had a range of Sonic games. Every generation of the little blue guy was represented. They were all hooked up to the appropriate TVs in the right aspect ratio. First-party controllers were right there, ready to go. That was really well done. The amount of times you go to a convention and they're like, we've got a retro gaming area, and you're like, cool. And then you find they're all hooked up to, like, LCDs, and they've been stretched to 16 by 9, and, yeah, you can have some pretty poor experiences with those, but no, SonicCon did it right. Like, every single box got ticked there. That was a really good gaming zone. Unfortunately, I have all the games, I can have that experience right here at home. I don't necessarily need to go to a convention for that, so I didn't spend much time in that area. Once I'd sort of killed enough time that it was near 10 a.m, I was just going straight in. Once I was in, the actual floor plan, I was kind of surprised. So when I looked at it initially, I was counting 50 dealers' tables, right, on the map. So I sit there, I pre-plan for things. So for this, I had to take Friday off work to mentally prepare. I had to take Monday off work to mentally recover. Just part of my nice little cocktail of ASD, GAD, and ADD. I got to plan for these things. I have to know exactly where I'm going to be at what time, days in advance. So of course I was scouring over the floor plan and being like, there are 50 dealers tables. That's a lot. And I was wondering, how many tables can you have selling the same Sonic Funkos, the same Mega Drive and Sega Saturn cartridges, the same Sonic the Comic back issues? Like 50 sounds like a lot. I was completely wrong. It turns out all 50 tables were fan artists and fan creators, which was actually really nice to see. There was a bunch of stuff I bought at the convention that really I could only have gotten at that convention, or I suppose at the traders' Etsy stores. The t-shirt I'm wearing right now, which you probably can't see much of, I bought at the con. So I got some t-shirts, I got some prints, I got some enamel badges, I got this really nice acrylic standee, loads of stuff that genuinely helped the show feel different and feel worth visiting. There are a lot of shows you can go to, like the MCM Comic Cons, which just feel like a shopping mall that you have to pay to get into. Whereas Sonic Con is like, okay, this has more of a craft fair vibe, and I actually really liked that. That said, it was odd that there wasn't a single stall with, like, Sonic Funkos. I don't know why I keep coming back to Funkos. There's a lot of people I know don't particularly care for them. But, like, you can go to Sonic Con, and you can't buy a Sonic game at Sonic Con. That felt odd. Now, granted, if they don't have any sellers apply for a table who are stocking that kind of thing, then they're not going to have anyone selling that kind of thing. So it's not entirely within the organizer's control. It was just sort of one of those things where, yeah, absolutely the majority should be the fan art, and I loved seeing that. I was just a little surprised I couldn't, like, fill in a Sonic the Comic back issue or two, But hey, my set is more or less complete. I just have a couple of issues that are looking rough and tatty that I need to maybe swap out with some nicer versions. The floor plan itself, kind of odd in terms of traffic and flow. So when you came in, immediately to the right were some Sonic statues to have photo opportunities with. And those were really cool. However, they were also in a really thin strip. So what happened is, we're all British, we're all polite, we don't want to ruin someone else's photo. So there are people there getting photos, and we're all stopped waiting before then walking through, which creates a natural choke point. Immediately past those statues was then the art area, and I love seeing activities like that. I especially loved that it got kids involved, and hey, here's how to draw Sonic and Robotnik. There were a couple of workshops going on throughout the day. That was really cool, but again, it's a point of interest, right? So you've got a choke point leading to a point of interest, and then just around the corner from there was sort of the invited creators, so to speak. So you had, say, Abby Bulmer, Jack Lawrence, and LS Mark, a few others who, have worked on, say, the IDW comics and things like that. People whose names are going to sell tickets in the first place. So trying to get to there, you had sort of 6 tables, like a row either side, and then a dead end, right? So there was nowhere for people who had browsed that area to exit. They had to U-turn and come back. So suddenly you had two-way traffic in an area that was not designed to accommodate two-way traffic. And so you come out of there and you turn right again, and you're in an area where, again, it's quite a thin strip, and you've got tables along one side, and you've got the entrance to panel rooms and a photo room along the other. And there was not enough space there for 2-lane traffic, plus stopping to look at any stores that caught your interest, plus people coming and going from the panel room. It was just, again, a really big choke point that I don't think needed to be there. The floor plan was changed and updated a couple of days before the show. Not a huge, massive update, but you can see it was sort of a last-minute shift. And I think that's where considerations like that sort of fell through and just slipped through the net. I do think a lot of the things I'm talking about are really tiny, nitpicky things, like really teething issues that they can learn from and overcome for the next show very, very easily. If you looked at the opposite side, you had a similar setup where it was tables and then the several doors to get into the main panel stage, which was called the Sonic stage. And that had a good sort of 9-10 feet between the tables here and the entrances to the panel room here. And it just made me think, if they had shifted that alley, that row, 3 feet that way, there would have been room on both sides for traffic to flow and for people to be able to look at the stalls and get around at the same time. In fact, the back corner was sort of like a little loop of tables, and that had, more than enough space for 2 wheelchairs to go in opposing directions and still let people look at the stalls. That said, that area got clogged. I think the convention as a whole was oversubscribed. So they probably assumed that, look, throughout the day, people are going to come and go, right? They're going to come in, look around for an hour or two, then possibly leave. And that's not how Sonic fans work. Like, have you met us? Hello. We were there for the entirety. Like, when someone was in, they probably weren't leaving. So it just got more and more congested as the day went on. And suddenly I did 9-10 circuits of the dealers' tables, and I was noticing new things, even on that 8th or 9th go round, because I couldn't see them before, because there were just bodies and people everywhere, so you couldn't see what was on the table. A lot of dealers seemed to anticipate that because they built high. There was grid wall everywhere, So yeah, that is something they could improve upon, is just looking at the head count and going, okay, we need to cover our costs. Yes, of course, we've put the work in, we deserve a little bit of profit. However, where do we cap the head count? How do we preserve the experience for the attendees? How many is too many? I think they got that balance wrong on this occasion. The panels were really good. There was a great variety of panels. So you had the Sonic Stadium talking about their history. You had Sonic Paradox showing their hilarious shorts on screen. It also provided a place for people like me to sit down, because I cannot walk around that all day. I can't. And then we had the performances, and the performances were a massive highlight. So about midday, we had TJ Davis, and I went there kind of expecting that in the day she would maybe do a Q&A or talk about her experience working on Sonic R and Metropolis Street Racer with Sega. And then in the evening, the after party, that's when she was likely to perform. So we get in there, we sit down for what we assume is going to be a Q&A, and it says on the screen, this performance contains flashing lights. I'm like, what? And it was amazing. She absolutely nailed it. She's an amazing performer. Everyone was singing along. We got the whole Sonic R soundtrack. She did a couple of variations, a couple of nice little runs that were like, ooh, that's a nice take on it. And yeah, it was just really cool to experience that live. Me and my best friend even said to each other, you know what, that performance by TJ Davis, that was worth the price of the entrance, the hotel, and the travel costs just to see her. At that point, we were like, we can die happy. This convention has been worth it based solely on this performance. She absolutely nailed it. Really, really happy. I'm looking forward to seeing her again at Sonic Fan Fest in Cardiff next June. That's going to be something to look forward to. But yeah, really, really happy with that. We had later on a performance by Johnny Gioelli, so that was at 5 p.m. That one was interesting in that people were sort of turning up to the end of Bentley's performance to sort of get seats for Johnny's. And they had to kick everybody out because they needed to get rid of all of the chairs at the front and only keep the chairs at the back so that they could have more of a, like, this is going to be a rock show, you're going to want to jump around and stuff. So clear off, let's clear this area, and then come back in. However, things were running behind at that point, and I assume it meant there was no time for a sound test or any adjustments between Bentley's performance, which sounded really good, and Johnny's, which, like, I knew I would have to wear my sensory headphones at some point. I knew it was going to be a rock show. Fair enough, right? I had to wear those headphones and take the edge off of that performance for it to be enjoyable rather than painful. And that's down to me. That's just how my brain operates. I'm the exception, not the rule. I understand that. However, my best friend, who, as far as we know, is a normie, bear in mind, all of his friends are some flavour of neurodivergent, and he's a 36-year-old man at SonicCon, right? There's only so normal he can be. Yeah, yeah, I know you're watching as well. Hello. He had to put his earbuds in because the volume was just cranked too high, and it was causing him physical discomfort as well. There was a really odd thing in that Johnny does a charity supporting autistic people, so they employ autistic people to make popcorn in America. Cool, fine. And they were doing a fundraising thing for that, which sparked a bidding war to essentially go on stage and sing with Johnny. And my word, like, fair play to those people. If you've got the money, you spend it how you want. But I was just sitting there as the bids and totals went up and up and up, thinking, how many mortgage payments would this be? Like, Christ, I could be like 6 months ahead on my mortgage here. But yeah, they seem to enjoy it. I assume they got their money's worth. It was really cool to see Johnny live. It did make me think, based on TJ, Bentley, and Johnny's performances specifically, if this is the stuff that's included in the daytime entry, what the hell is the after party going to be like? Because that was a paid extra. So we got out. It was meant to be 6 that the show ended. Because things had run behind a bit, we left about 6:30 when Johnny's show ended. Fine, cool, no problem. That happens at conventions. Went back to the hotel, had some food, had a shower, got changed, and then came back across for the after party. They weren't ready for us right away. They were going to give us maybe 15 minutes or so, go enjoy the hotel bar. So we did that, and we kind of had a table, a few of us, just sort of chatting away, drinking a few beers. It was quite nice in that the staff knew what they were doing. They didn't want people loitering or anything like that, so they were coming over to the tables going like, hi, can we get your drink order and we'll bring it over. So we got a couple of rounds in, and then suddenly we realised, hey, it's been like an hour. Did the after party open? And yes, it did. So we went from these tables where we had a fairly chill vibe and a good time and a good supply of alcohol, to then going through the after party doors, and for some reason they were using the main convention floor rather than reusing the Sonic stage where the performances had been earlier. And also it wasn't live performances, it was a DJ, which, the DJ was doing a fine enough job. It was alright, it was Sonic music, it was probably exactly what you'd expect. But the queue for the bar was then like the length of the convention hall. They had 3 people trying their best to get through the orders as quickly as possible, but yeah, there was just far more of us than there were them. And it kind of had a high school disco vibe. Our immediate thoughts were that actually we were better situated moments before when we were sat in the main hotel bar. We had a table, we had drinks being brought over to us, and they're having a chilled chat. Actually, that was possibly a better experience than the actual organised paid-for after-party. But at the same time, there was also that British thing of, well, we're here now, we've paid, we've got drinks, let's just enjoy it. And to SonicCon's credit, it was enjoyable. We did have a decent enough time at the after-party. I think their problem was that the live performances during the day set expectations for the after-party up here, and then when they came in and delivered, it was actually down here. And this probably would have been fine if we hadn't just had this. It was that contrast, that point of comparison, that made the after-party unfavourable. And I realise I'm being critical in this video. I can hear myself being critical, and I want to emphasise that I had a really good time at SonicCon. Like, a fantastic time. I will happily go again to the next one, assuming that there is a next one. I'll happily back it, get a ticket, go along. I think what made it really good for me was, number one, the fan community and the artists. Again, I got so many prints and badges. It's off the top of my head. My friend Hara Specs was there. She's the one that I got the Sonic standee from. She did really, really well. Her artwork's fantastic. She is setting up an Etsy store now. I'll put a link in the description when she opens that so that you can all go, show her support, buy all of her stuff. She deserves it. It was really cool to get some enamel badges from, I believe their name was Chaos, but I got a Neo Metal Sonic, which is just here. There was a print I got from someone called Ark, which was sort of what Sonic Prime should have been. It was all the different variations of Sonic over the decades, all hanging out together. That was a really cool print, really well drawn and well made. I got an awesome Sonic and Shadow A3 print that I've got a frame ordered for, so as soon as that comes, that'll be going up somewhere here. I'm running out of wall space, but it'll be going up somewhere in here. And even like things like Fleetway got some love. I got another pin here of the I'll file it under U for useless panel. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, this t-shirt that I'm wearing, which is a Shadow the Hedgehog t-shirt riffing on the Akira poster, and another one of Metal Sonic, a heavy metal poster, so it's like Metal Sonic doing rock hands, which is really, yeah, that was fun. So I came away with a haul. One of my favourite things that the convention did was trading cards. So ahead of the convention, they said, put your OC on a trading card. Here's a PSD template. Here's somewhere to get them printed that we recommend. And you'll trade them on the day. And that was a really good conversation starter. Again, I'm autistic, attention deficit disorder, and generalized anxiety disorder. So social situations, not my strongest suit at all. I freeze up a lot of the time. And for those who said hi in person, thank you very much. It was kind of cool and bizarre to be recognized from these videos at the show. I really, really did appreciate it. I'm sorry I froze a lot of the time. Like, I didn't really know what to do or say. That's entirely a me thing. That's nothing to do with you guys. But yeah, these cards sort of gave us an icebreaker, a conversation starter, a way to get things rolling. And it was really awesome just to see how many talented artists, well, no, I hate the word talent, how many skilled artists. A talent, people assume it's binary, you have it or you don't, you're born with it or you're not. And that's bullshit. It is a skill. You learn art, you practice art, you earn the ability to create art, which is also why I'm against generative AI, because it kind of tries to skip all of that and misses the point of the creative process in doing so. Anyway, back to what I was actually talking about. The cards were this amazing way to just talk to each other, introduce ourselves to each other, meet new people. Every time someone was like, oh, hey, you've got a card, I've got a card too, let's trade. That would sort of bring 4 or 5 people around you out of their shells, and they would go, oh, I've got cards too, and suddenly there'd be a circle of 6 or 7 people all swapping cards. It was just a really nice way to get to know each other. On the backs of the cards were QR codes, like people's Blue Sky and YouTube accounts as well, so that people could keep in touch after the show. And then towards the end of the show, I'd say about 3 p.m., a table popped up where people could just leave cards. So you could go there, you could fill in your gaps, you could leave a few of your own. So yeah, it's sort of like that thing of, if you didn't manage to catch someone, because there were a lot of people there, you didn't necessarily have to miss out. And I came back with around 50 cards. I think it was 53 cards when I counted. So I talked to a lot of people. My voice and my throat were destroyed because I had had so many conversations. I'd sang along to so many of the performances, and I'd had such a good time that I was wiped out. Originally, our group was going to go to Westfield the following day, check out the Nintendo pop-up shop, and just generally hang out, have fun, and then maybe check out Forbidden Planet and stuff in the centre. Someone had suggested the Natural History Museum to me as well. And we were thinking, you know what, we're in London anyway, we're staying overnight anyway. Our trains aren't until 4 or 5 p.m. on the Sunday. Let's make a day of it. Then Sunday morning, I think we got harsh reminders that we're us, right? We were already pushing it attending SonicCon, so we were all way over our limits. Um, I think I owe apology to Jamie in particular, someone who recognised me both at the after party and then at Westfield, and hung out with us for a bit. But yeah, I was in such a neurodiverse overload and spoon overdraft from SonicCon, and then overstimulated by Westfield and London as a whole to the point that I was getting headaches. I was kind of done. I was past my limits, which again, that's entirely a me thing, right? It kind of comes with the territory, and it's something I just have to learn to live with. But we saw what was actually for sale at the Nintendo pop-up shop through the windows. We saw the length of that queue, and we're just like, this isn't happening. That's not going ahead. We just about managed to pull ourselves to Forbidden Planet, so we got to Tottenham Court Road. We had a quick browse around Forbidden Planet, but we were quickly like, this is too many people. Like, London is too much for today. And rather than the 4-5 o'clock trains, we were all on trains home by about 1:30 in the afternoon. And that was fine. It's what we needed. We needed to decompress. It was just a lot. It was a good a lot. It's just, yeah, we needed that decompression time. We had talked about whether SonicCon would be better as a 2-day show. Like, take that volume of people, the oversubscription I mentioned earlier, and spread it out over a full weekend, and maybe that would be more justifiable, more like karma. You could actually get round the stalls, see everything. It'd just stop all of the congestion and all of the traffic flow issues. Like, I did see wheelchair users and parents with buggies and prams just getting stuck and frustrated, and that was unfortunate. So whether the spreading it over 2 days could help alleviate that and just spread the people out a bit. And then we also looked at each other and went, I don't think we could do 2 days. Because if it was over 2 days, there would be sort of panels on the Sunday that would want to say we'd probably buy weekend tickets, and one day completely wiped us out. We had a blast, it was a lot of fun, but we were wiped out. I don't think we would have the spoons or the energy for a Sunday. So you'd have to pick one of the 2 days, or at least I would. I can't speak for, obviously, you watching this. So I'm not sure if a full weekend would be a good idea for that. Where it does leave me, though, is I got a bunch of cool stuff. I met a bunch of cool people. I had an absolute blast through seeing some awesome performances. Yeah, I'm paying for it. I can tell you now, I'm paying for it. But I would do it again. Very happily do it again in a heartbeat. So I'm looking forward to, if they announce the next SonicCon, wherever and whenever that is. I'm also very much looking forward to Sonic FanFest in Cardiff in June. I've got my tickets from the Kickstarter. I've booked the hotel already. Yeah, just roll on June. Prior to that, I will also be at Debug, which is an event at the Norfolk Showground in April, I believe April 25th. And I'll be showing my indie game, Crisis Island, at that show. It's in my hometown, it's on my home turf, so I'll get to visit some friends and family while I'm there as well. I'm quite looking forward to that. But yeah, SonicCon, overall, really good show, had a really good time. There are some things I could work on, for sure. One thing I forgot to mention, actually, is the comic. So some very skilled people put together a comic set in the Sonic the Comic universe, and that was supposedly a Kickstarter backer reward that was supposed to go in like a welcome pack or goodie bag. I found out about this after the show. I didn't get one. So I signed in, they gave me my wristband, and that was it. There was no goodie bag, no welcome pack. Some people were saying they got printed out floor plans and schedules. I didn't get any of that. It was just, here's your wristband, come back at 10 a.m. to actually go through the doors. So the creative team behind the comic posted it on social media. I'll link it in the description. You can read it for free. They did a fantastic job. But supposedly these were printed and they were supposed to be handed out on the day. And there's a lot of confusion sort of on the Discord for the show on Blue Sky. Just people saying, wait, this was a thing? I was supposed to get this? Because I didn't get this. And actually, yeah, so far only heard of one person actually getting the comic, which is a shame because it's a fantastic comic. I'm glad I have the digital version. I'm glad that I can read it. I'm glad that you can go download it for free. But yeah, it's just odd and a shame and a bit of a missed opportunity. But yeah, I think Sonic FanFest are also going to have a physical comic because they made their stretch goal for that. And I do have theirs from last year. It came out really, really well. So yeah, that's always a fun incentive, and you should go show that comic some love. But yeah, that'll do it for me. Those are sort of my thoughts on SonicCon. A little bit of flavor text around the weekend as a whole. I really hope they do it again. I do think, while I've been quite specific and nitpicky, they are relatively minor issues that can be addressed and fixed fairly easily for the next show. And even despite those niggles and those little minor complaints, I had a really good time. That's a bit I want to emphasize. This was a fantastic time. A huge thank you to my friends that I hang out with at those shows as well. You know who you are. I'm not going to bother name dropping and things like that because it would just, yeah, that it feels wrong. But yeah, you know who you are. We had an absolute blast. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys again, hopefully sooner rather than later. Anywho, that'll do it for me. Thank you for watching this little improvised video, unplanned on SonicCon. Again, I went to have fun, not to make content, and I achieved that. I definitely had fun. Just afterwards, I had some thoughts rattling around my head, and I was like, let's get these out. And YouTube seems like a good avenue for getting those thoughts out, so here we are. I'll see you all again very soon.